A lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things. We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. When you shut it down, you have to do layoffs, so we'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and the Democrats, they're going to be Democrats.
What they've decided to do tonight with their vote is to close the government. And what that means, everybody needs to understand, real pain for real Americans. What does that mean? It means women, infants, and children do not get their nutrition programs. That is not funded anymore. Veterans don't get their health care services, suicide prevention, and other very important things that are very timely. You have low-income persons who are Medicaid, Medicare recipients who are receiving care at home. Those programs are now lapsed. They will not be funded.
Yeah, you're making a point about what happens if the government shuts
That's
down.
right, and they just decided to do it. So the only question tonight is, how long will Chuck Schumer keep the government closed? It's a dangerous gambit. It's something that he himself said his entire political career would be dangerous and disastrous. Roll the tape.
Well, as you know, people who are here in the United States legally have never been eligible for the Obamacare subsidies, for Medicare, for Medicaid. So what exactly are you saying that they're trying to do when you talk about giving free health care to them?
I'm so glad you asked. Okay, so when we passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, we had Medicaid reforms in the bill. You and I talked about it on the air. What we did was to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. There were a lot of people on the program who were enrolled in the program who were never eligible to be there. Medicaid is intended for eligible U.S. citizens, not illegal aliens, not also U.S. citizens who are able-bodied workers, like young men. So we passed the law. The president signed it into law. Democrats voted against it, of course. And it's been wildly successful. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, which is the neutral arbiter of all these things, released a report a few weeks ago, earlier this month, and they said, you know what? The bill has had its intended purpose. Premiums are coming down, listen, because 2.3 million ineligible enrollees have been kicked off of Medicaid, which helps to save the program, prop it up. And $185 billion has been saved already in fraud, waste, and abuse.
So basically, what you did was narrow the eligibility for certain people to get access to the ACA subsidies. What they want to do is undo the changes that Republicans made in that. But basically, wouldn't that only affect people who do have legal status, people who are refugee seekers here in the United States, asylum seekers here?
Those are two totally different issues. Now, they've created this as a new argument that they have as to why they should not keep the government open, but they're arguing a December policy debate for a September funding issue. The subsidies that you're talking about don't expire until the end of December.
No. Those are the subsidies for just everyday Americans. That's one thing that obviously has been the main premise of their argument. But you're saying they want to give free health care to people who are in the United States illegally.
That is exactly what the effect will be.
But when I looked at it, there's a little nuance because they want to undo changes that y'all made, narrowing who is eligible to get that. Those are people who are refugee seekers, asylum seekers. They're not technically people who are here illegally, just cross the border.
No, this is exactly what will happen.
I mean, estimate for us, give us some ballpark numbers here. We've already had some sizable reductions in force. Actually, there's a number 300,000 floating around for this calendar year. That may or may not be the right number, but that number is floating around. Now, if there's a budget shutdown, as our own chat program suggested, almost ineluctably will be a budget shutdown, then you have the authority to reduce the federal employee count by roughly how much?
Well, I'm going to let those kinds of questions extend until tomorrow and the days after. Right now, where we are, we have hours to go before a government shutdown, and it can be avoided. And then we'll get in tomorrow. The preparation is all done. We have many options, but we're going to get in tomorrow and see where we are, and we're going to manage this shutdown and try to keep the American people from the havoc that the Democrats have caused on with their crazy demands. But let it be said, there are all manner of authorities to be able to keep this administration's policy agenda moving forward, and that includes reducing the size and scope of the federal government, and we will be looking for opportunities to do that.
And you've made that very clear to Mr. Schumer. It doesn't seem to move him, Russ Vogt. That's what I don't understand. It will be worse. I mean, if I were he, and I'm most certainly not, but if I were he, I would want a continuing resolution and discuss all this stuff. I wouldn't want to hand the circular over to you, and he'll have to take some measures that he's not going to like one darn bit.
Well, I think he's got some time over the next several hours to come back from the brink, to work with his moderates to get a continuing resolution passed. We'll see how these votes come up, and then we'll see where we are in the morning.
And I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. That's what's not going to happen. And so if those senators think that we're having a shutdown because of me, they're free to enter my office and negotiate, because what we're not going to do is allow all of millions of people in this country to not be able to afford their insulin and their chemotherapy. So come strike a deal with me if that's what they really think is going on.
The Democratic proposal is designed to prevent millions of Americans from losing their health insurance, losing Medicaid coverage, or paying higher health care premiums. Why are you against that?
That's an absurd statement, what you said there. Let's be clear about what happened last night, George. No, George, let me tell you what happened last night. Everybody can go and review the facts for themselves. 44 Senate Democrats voted to reject a clean, nonpartisan continuing funding resolution to keep the United States government open. The Democrats said instead that they wanted to give health care to illegal aliens instead of keeping critical services provided for the American citizens. That's what happened, plain and simple. Every Democrat in the House, except one, voted against the clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan in nature. There are no policy riders on it that Republicans favored. It's exactly what Chuck Schumer and other Democrats voted for in March. But they've changed their tune. They changed their tune because Chuck Schumer is having political problems right now. That's just a simple fact, and everybody knows it. He's trying to outrun the far left portion of his base, so he's decided to inflict pain on the American people.
Here are
that's
facts.
The reality of what we're facing.
Here are the facts. The proposal does not provide health care for illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants cannot buy health care under the Affordable Care Act. They cannot receive health care subsidies.
No.
Illegal immigrants are ineligible for Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Program. The Democratic bill does not make them eligible.
The Trump administration has a few reasons to celebrate this government shutdown.
And it also is not lost on anyone that shutting the government down allows them not to swear in our new colleague, Ms. Grijalva from Arizona, who would be the 218th signature to discharge the Epstein files and to put a vote on that on the House floor. So it's convenient for them to shut the government down, and they're not interested in making government work for our constituents.
Republicans are desperate to pin the government shutdown on Democrats, but it's become increasingly obvious that the party is using the shutdown not only to stall their own disastrous bill and its catastrophic effect on their own voters, but also to score political points, to distract from the Epstein files, and to consolidate their own power. They're weaponizing the shutdown to rally their base with fear and outrage, all while knowing that ordinary Americans are going to be the ones who will bear the brunt of the chaos.